One of the roadblocks that I sometimes see people that I'm talking to run into when it comes to getting a second passport is they're very focused on the name brand of the passport. They're focused on the prestige. They're focused on a certain image in their minds of what that passport is. Today, I'm going to give you a different approach. I'm going to give you the approach that I've taken and that I think is worth at least considering, which is the idea of going out and getting underwhelming, undervalued, non-name brand, potentially even bad name brand passports as passports of convenience. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, we talk about how to legally reduce your taxes by going overseas. We talk about how to protect yourself and enhance your opportunities by being a dual citizen, how to invest overseas in new boom markets. You can learn more about all of it and what we do and how we help folks like you at nomadcapitalist.com. What I want to talk about today is a different approach to getting a second passport. If you've done some research on this outside of our channel here, well, we've got untold numbers of videos on my approach and different second passport opportunities. But if you've done some research, you've probably seen a couple things. Okay, you've seen citizenship by investment, namely in Caribbean islands where you make a donation of 100K or up, you get a passport in a matter of months. Or you've seen what's called citizenship by descent, where maybe your grandfather was Irish, or your great-grandfather was Italian, or your mother was Polish, and you were able to, through your family tree, go back and claim that passport. And obviously, you know about the idea of if you go and live in some country for a number of years, you can become a citizen through naturalization, much like you've probably seen people being naturalized in your own country, as I did growing up in the United States. But, you know, there are a lot of other opportunities out there that people don't talk about. And I think that because they're not often talked about, people are more concerned about them. Let me give you an example of what we came across recently with our research team. My research manager recently came across an opportunity that we had never seen before. I think it was a law passed about 9 months ago in a Latin American country where if you go down and invest a little over $1 million in real estate, in government bonds, if you put the money in a business, pretty much any kind of investment, you can get on a fast track to being naturalized in the country without having to actually spend any time in the country. We call it paper residence, leading to what you could call paper citizenship, right? So it's a naturalization process, or what we would call a fast track naturalization process, because you're fast tracking it with some kind of investment. You don't have to invest in this country to get residence, but you can do the process a lot more easily and without having to commit too much to the country by putting the money in. Now, I said to myself, wow, that country has an amazing passport. You can go almost all over the world with this thing. There are very few exceptions. You can't go to the United States, you can't go to Canada, but you can go pretty darn much everywhere else. And so from my perspective, that's a great passport. You know, if you have $1 million to invest, you can, get that relatively quickly and without really making any changes to your lifestyle. The country is looking for investment, they're willing to do that. Now, if you turned on the news where you lived and you saw a news story about that country, I can bet you dollars to donuts, it would be bad. It would be about the people are living in poverty. It would be about all kinds of problems in the country. I've been to this country. It's not my favorite country in the world. I'm not in a rush to go back. But I can tell you, if you offered me a passport from this country, I'd be interested. Now, not every country requires you to invest $1 million. Some, the number is 10,000 or 20,000. Some, the number is 100 or 200,000. And one example we saw went all the way up to 100 million euros. Okay, so there's a wide range there. There's something for everyone. But my point is, I think a lot of folks are tied up with the idea of, I want that tier A passport. I think sometimes it's for prestige, right? Especially if you're American, Canadian, or British, or Australian, you're getting your second passport because you either want to expatriate from your country or you want citizenship insurance. The idea of, for some folks, of going from being American to being, some much lesser nationality in their mind, it doesn't work for them. They don't feel good about it. They worry about their ability to travel. And I've talked about how most countries really don't care what your passport is. You either need a visa or you don't. They don't care. And if you want to become a resident of that country, you either meet their requirements or you don't. And so I've said these non-name brand passports are actually a great opportunity because If you go and invest $1 million in the United States through the EB-5 program or other countries at that level, they're going to require you to live there. They're going to require you to pay tax. They're going to require you to spend the vast majority of your life there, potentially for the next 5, 7, 10 years in some cases. It's dramatic cost, dramatic lifestyle adjustments. And for a lot of the entrepreneurs and investors that we talk to here on this channel, you just don't want to do that, or you can't do that, right? I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He's got a multi-million-dollar investment business. He's got to be traveling between 3 different continents all the time, or else his business is out of business. He can't commit to going somewhere and living for 6 or 9 months a year. And so he does have money to invest. And so here's an opportunity. What I want you to consider is my idea that every country is a name brand. Countries like the United States, regions like the European Union, these are name brands. I can tell you, we do a lot of work with countries in the European Union. We help people get residence and citizenship in those countries. We help people incorporate in those countries sometimes. But I always tell people, if you're going to a name brand place, you're going to pay more for the name brand. It's no different than, the fact that you're going to pay more for a pair of Gucci sneakers than you are for a pair of sneakers at Walmart, right? There's perhaps some quality improvement, but is the quality, 20 times better? Probably not. I have Gucci sneakers. They don't last 20 times longer than the cheap sneakers my mom bought me growing up. Now for me, it's worth paying it because I like the style. I like the design. And so, for me, the name brand countries are not that much different. But if you're looking for a passport of convenience to potentially lower your taxes, increase your investment opportunities, especially if you're in things like cryptocurrency. I know a lot of people now are running into problems where their country of residence or citizenship means they are cut out of certain deals. They need an alternate residence, alternate citizenship. That's one thing to look at. Sometimes travel is something that a second passport can help you with. But again, here's a passport that you would never think was a good one. They've got excellent visa-free travel all over the world. And so, look at it from an unemotional perspective at times. Now, I've talked about creating a passport portfolio where perhaps your first passport is that passport of convenience, and then you work towards something better. And if you want that European Union passport, maybe you do it more cheaply by waiting a bit longer. And so you start 2 processes at once. The European one drags out, the other one gets done pretty quickly, and at least you get the financial and investment and tax and freedom benefits of having a passport right away. You don't necessarily have to love your passport country. I don't want you to hate your passport country, and I'm not saying, go and get a passport in some, war-torn African country where you're not going to be respected. I'm not going to tell you to go and get an Iranian passport or a North Korean or a Cuban passport. That's not what I'm talking about. But there are countries out there that have been vilified by the media or that have been made to look terrible by the media. But remember, okay, and I always say, I give an example. I had a guy from Nicaragua come to my house for a party once. He said his passport was terrible. The only reason in his mind his passport was terrible is because his dream is to live and work in the United States and make a lot of money and send it home. Well, if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, I'm sure you can send some money home to your family. Or maybe your family's already doing all right. So, if you're coming from the perspective that we as Nomad capitalists are coming from, the Nicaraguan passport is a pretty good passport. And it's one that I've said on Instagram, I'll take it because my needs are different than the average Nicaraguan. That's the perspective that you have to come at it from. And so while a lot of people would look at Nicaragua and say, wow, but what a place with poverty and this or that, I've been to Nicaragua and I can tell you that I wouldn't have a problem doing that. So that's the perspective that I want you to come at this from. I want you to look for off-the-radar opportunities. I want you to look for under-the-radar opportunities, places that have been under-promoted. Often you're not going to see them talked about very much. We don't even talk about them sometimes when they come up here because you want them to stay private so people don't come and bum rush them and bring a bunch of problems. But if you find a program that's off the radar, that's the kind of thing that I would consider pursuing. You're going to get your citizenship faster on more preferential financial terms, probably lower sunk costs, lower legal fees. You can potentially invest in better things. This $1 million that you can invest, it can be done in pretty much anything you want. Whereas in a lot of the European Union programs, you're forced to invest in certain things that may not be very good investments, right? So those are the things that you want to consider: faster, cheaper, more efficient, easier. To me, A passport of convenience is a great way to get at least your first second passport. It doesn't have to be your only second passport, but it's a way to cut through a lot of the noise and a lot of the nonsense. How can Nomad Capitalists help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.